Hello everyone, Pierce Nation here. Welcome back to a new video today. Today we're going to be talking about the new meta relevant Tearlament Ishizu deck and what it really consists of. We'll go over it all in full detail. So we're going to start off with the main starter, the deck Rhinoheart. If you all do not know this deck at all, then you'll be very surprised to know the outcome of this deck and what it can do, the massive boards it can put up as well. So basically, Rhinoheart is the main purpose of the deck. Basically what he does is, if he's normal or special summon, you can send one Tearlament monster from deck to graveyard. If Rhinoheart, if this card is sent to graveyard by card effect, you're supposed to summon this card. And then if you do, send one Tearlament card from hand to the graveyard. Then we have Hobness here. Your opponent activates a monster effect on the field. You can spell summon this card, and if you do, send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. If this card is sent to the graveyard by card effect, except during damage step, you can fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck by placing fusion materials mentioned on it from your hand, field, and or graveyard, including this card from your graveyard on the bottom of the deck in any order. Well, Hobness is pretty good for that. Really good to get into. And then we have Sharon here. Sharon basically does the same thing, a little bit different. During your main phase, you can spell summon this card from your hand, and if you do, send one monster from your hand to the graveyard, then send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. This card is sent to the graveyard by card effect. You can fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck by placing fusion materials mentioned on it from your hand, field, and or graveyard, including this card from your graveyard on the bottom of the deck in any order. Again, they all basically do the same thing. And the last one is Marley. Marley, card is normal special summon. You can send up 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. If this card is sent to the graveyard by card effect, except during damage step, you can fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck by placing fusion materials mentioned on it from hand, field, or graveyard, including this card on the bottom of the deck in any order. You can only use this effect once per turn. So that's basically that's a basic rundown of the main Tearlament cards that you'll see. Those are the monsters. They all do the same damn thing. Where the deck really pops off is with the new Ishizus. They pop off enough with the cards of their own, especially like Scream. Anytime your opponent's put a normal spell summons a monster on their turn, you can send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard, which is a once per turn effect, but it's still a pretty powerful one at that. So Tearlament Scream, puts on the field, they're happy, they go to town. Solak is another really good one. Basically, you control a Tearlament monster every visit Starfrost. You can target one effect monster your opponent controls, negate its effects, then send one monster you control to the graveyard. If this card is sent to the graveyard by card effect, you can add one Tearlament monster from deck to hand. It's very good because more oftentimes than not, they'll try to pop Solak, which will activate its effect to add Tearlament, and then they go ham. Like, Tearlaments are like serious business. You have to watch everything they do. They have multiple ways to add, including this field spell here. The build I seen, they had a terraforming in it, but I'm not going to do the whole terraforming thing because I don't feel like with this build it is needed. Because yeah, it's nice to add a Tearlament, but with the Ishizu cards and sending to graveyards so often, you're going to hit your main cards. And I don't think it definitely doesn't have a Um, it doesn't have a real good graveyard effect. But what's so good about Primeval Planet Perlino, that I didn't understand the grasp of it, is every fusion monster have a Tearlament monster, they gain 500 attack due to this card. That's where I failed to realize why this card was so much, is the fact that every fusion monster will gain the 500 boost, which is a hell of a lot. So I've been talking about these Ishizu cards. I've talked about them a little bit on the channel, not really gotten too much into them. Allow me to explain to you why these are broken. So we're going to start off with Keldo, the Sacred Protector. So with Keldo here, you can discard, let me go back here for a minute. So with Keldo here, you can discard one other Earth Fairy monster, special summon this card from your hand. So you have to use all of these. You can't use like a Herald or the Diviner. That don't work. You have to use one of these in order to special summon. The special summon is not needed, but it'll help you get started. So for Keldo here, move around. There we go. You can discard one other Earth Fairy, special summon this card from your hand, then add one Exchange of the Spirit, or one card that mentions it from deck to hand, which can be any monster that's on this. It could be Gravedigger's Trap, it could be Exchange of the Spirit. Any cards that have Exchange of the Spirit in this text, you could put in this deck and get it to work. Any of them. This is a quick effect. You can banish this card from your field or graveyard, then target up to 3 cards in any graveyard, or up to 5 if you have Exchange of the Spirit is on your field or in your graveyard. Shuffle them into the deck. You can only use this effect once per turn. Okay. So Keldo shuffles. Okay. I'm not seeing where this is broken. Well, you're gonna figure out with this next one. So now we'll go to Ishizu, the Ancient Sentinel. And what he does is, card is sent from the hand of the graveyard to your opponent's graveyard. Normally a hand trap, but it could be many of other things. It doesn't matter when. It could be your turn, their turn, whatever. Ishizu's gonna activate. Ishizu, if this happens, you can special summon this card from your hand. Then you can special summon one level 4 Earth Fairy monster from your graveyard. That's Ishizu. This card is sent from the hand to the graveyard or deck to the graveyard. You can activate this effect. Each player sends the top 5 cards of their deck to the graveyard, or the entire deck if it's less than 5. Then if Exchange of the Spirit is in the graveyard, you can send 5 more cards from the top of either player's deck. Make sense? So allow me to explain this one here, because this one's gonna hit some effects. Okay, because the Tearlaments have real good effects when they mill. So Ishizu can actually mill this deck 10 cards if it wants. Or I've seen this build too, where an Exchange of the Spirit, they go into Ishizu here, and when you exchange, you can do it right when you both have 15 engrave, which is smart. So they play slow first. They start off slow, and once they get 15 cards in both graveyards, and they might have more in theirs, they'll flip Exchange of the Spirit to swap your deck with your graveyard. Okay, you have 15 cards in deck. We'll actually activate Ishizu now that you have 15 in deck, and they'll mill 5. Okay, you mill 5. Effect because of Exchange of the Spirit. they'll make you mill 5 more cards. You have 5 cards in deck. And then they'll use cards like this to actually target cards 3 to 5 in their graveyard and shuffle them back in the deck. Because they don't care about their cards. They care about your cards. And with Agito's effect, when this card is special summoned, it will actually grab a level 4 the graveyard, special summon it. You know what they're grabbing? I do. They're grabbing this guy. Because if somehow you can send this guy from deck to grave, he's gonna mill you till nothing is left. That is no joke. Where Killback is so good is what it targets. More specifically, like these other cards, they're nothing. But Killback can target a card, special summon itself, then return that card to hand. It's incredible. And then, if this card is sent to graveyard, it's going to mill 5 cards. Let me get over here so I can show you. You can activate this effect. Each player sends top 5 cards of the deck to the graveyard. Then if exchange is in there, you can set 1 trap from your graveyard. Promise you, it won't be this. This is exchange of the spirit. Both players have 15 or more cards in their graveyards. Pay 1,000 life points. Each player swaps the cards in their graveyard with cards in their deck, and the deck gets shuffled. Whatever. You can only activate 1 exchange of spirit per duel. Right? 1 time's enough. This gets off 1 time, it's over. Most things now hit the activation. So if you don't do this right, you can just kill back, mill the 5, and reset exchange of the spirit, and keep rolling. Gravedigger's Trap. This is where things get real interesting. In a mirror match, if this is normally the first thing they'll go after when they use Medora, or not Medora, but Keldo. So with Keldo, they normally grab Exchange of the Spirit. I've seen countless duels with these things. It's rather bizarre. So they'll literally do this. While Exchange of the Spirit is in your graveyard, your opponent cannot activate the effects of cards in the graveyard or special summon monsters from the graveyard. Now, where this becomes a real prevalent thing is they will continue to mill until they hit Gravediggers or the Gravekeepers. Exchange of the Spirit. What the hell? Anyway, they'll put this on and they will continuously mill until they hit Exchange of the Spirit. Because then they don't have to worry about your graveyard doing anything. Because what you'll have to do is you'll have to out this card. I don't know if you have seen this build. The only way to out this card is with this one. There's no other way to do it. Like you can say, oh yeah, well we could use some of these. Doesn't matter, they're not gonna do anything. Your only bet is you have to special summon you have to special summon 2 of these in the same turn, make a Abyss Dweller to slow it down. That's your only bet. And it's just not gonna happen. I'm gonna tell you that right now. It's not gonna happen. Because if you draw Foolish, you got a dead card. It's not gonna do anything. So they do run, the Herald. You've never seen the card. Basically what you do when your opponent activates a monster effect, you can quick effect this. Then this card won't have fair to the graveyard and negate the activation if you destroy the card. Okay. The Herald of the Diviner, they're running it because of Orange Light. But it doesn't really do a whole lot Besides, you can send one fairy from the extra deck to the graveyard, and they're not really. I don't believe they have any fairies in this. No, they don't. But you know, more specifically, what they're gonna do with this, from my standpoint, is Herald the Diviner, send like a Guido, Killback, or you know, whatever you need in order to get the effect to go off. And that's the play for me personally. I see that being the play over everything else. Now the Shaddoll and the Shaddoll Beast and Skalmata, they're obvious. You know, it's a flip, draw 2 cards and discard 1. No one really fucking cares about that. What they do care about is that this card is sent to the graveyard, you can draw 1 card. That's what they're going to do with it. And then Skalmata here, flip, you can target 1 monster on the field, destroy it. If this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you could send 1 Shaddoll card from deck to graveyard, except for this card. Then you could basically, you're going to target these cards as your targets to go back into the deck. And also, you're going to target your Foolish Burial. So if you want to Foolish Burial again, you can. Does make the most sense. Just in case if you mill, you know, all of these, you can just target them, put them back. You put your resources back that you want in your deck. Like if I've got 3 copies of all these in the graveyard and I get my option to put them back, I'm probably gonna put back 1 copy of each. Because with this deck, if you run really low and then you start hitting cards, you're gonna do a lot of damage. Now where I really don't like this deck is the extra deck. So you have Kaleido Heart, 2 Kick Halos, and 1 Ricolos. Ricolos, I understand the need for it. It is like an Omni Negate. When your opponent activates a card or effect that includes an effect that special summons a monster, quick effect, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. Then send 1 Tearlament card from your hand or face-up field to the graveyard. If this fusion summon card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can special summon this card. Great. So actually, why I talked about this, I did face somebody who played this card and I popped it with a card effect. Now that I know better now, I probably would have just went to battle with this thing, because as long as you do that, you know, it won't keep coming back. Now, however, this fusion summon card, once it uses its effect to special summon, it is no longer a fusion summon card. It is now just a regular card, so if you pop it again, it's not going to be able to do anything. And all the effects are once per turn. This is a hard once per turn card. But basically, Kalos has to hit one that special summons a monster. It has to do that. So, like, I don't know, if you play heroes like Fusion Destiny, that would be one that it can negate. But it only gets that effect once per turn. Now, Omni Negates now are not that bad compared to where they were. Like Herald of Ultimateness, I don't know if any of y'all have ever read it, but I'd give it a read because it's pretty unfair. And I did use it last week in Drytron. But you know, without further ado, let's get on to the actual materials. So you need 2 elements, Kalos, and 1 2-element monster. Pretty easy. For this, you need a 2-element monster and an aqua monster. And for Rhino Heart, you actually have, for Kaleido Heart, you actually have to have a Tearlament, Rhino Heart, and 2 aqua monsters. So with that being said, you know, that's where we're at with these 2 elements here. Dragstapelia. We all know Dragstapelia. Honestly, you could do this but why would you? Alright. Finish it all window. Obviously, it's easy to do. You shuffle back in your materials, which would be like your Shadal Beast, and Skamata, whatever. You make window. Window's pretty good. Barone. Let's see. I'm trying to think of how you would actually make that. Thinking those are your only ones. Yeah, so these are your only tuners. Barone is level 10. So you're gonna have to have a level 8, which is probably Draxtapelia, or like Rukalos, or Kaleidoheart. But you're gonna have that to get into Barone. What's cool about Kaleidoheart here is it cannot be used as fusion material. Only good thing about this card. Says if this card is supposed to summon, or if an aqua monster is sent to the graveyard by card effect, while this card is on the field, you can target one card your opponent controls, shuffle to the deck. Which is great. It's got a good out. Kalos, I don't know. You can take one Tearlament card from your deck and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. You can target one monster you control, supposed to summon one Tearlament monster from your hand to graveyard, and if you do, send the targeted monster to the graveyard. This card is sent to the graveyard by card effect. You can send the top 5 cards of your deck to the graveyard. Okay. So now after reading these, because I don't play Tearlaments, I'm gonna lie, I know where they're powerful, but I'm really finding where to hit them. So Time Thief Redoer is pretty good. I'm not gonna get too much into it, but it's gonna pop this deck off like none other. Babushka is really hard to beat. Abyss Dweller, we all know Abyss Dweller, we all know what it does. Cerberus, it's just a nice card to have. Just the target is supposed to summon a monster in your opponent's main monster zone and destroy it. Very good for that. Phoenix, Bullet Trap, get it out of here. Barricade Blocker. Wait, do what? This card is Link Summon. You can discard one card during the end phase of this turn. Add one continuous or field spell from graveyard to your hand. When you use this effect once per turn, face up spells you control cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Gave me an idea, but we'll get to that later. And then Spread Elf. Target a level 2, also summon it. Go to town. Pretty easy. So with this deck, and of course where I hate this deck the most, hate this deck, is the side deck. So I'm pretty sure my control is limited to 1. So there'd be Change of Heart, and then the last one you would probably use like Dimensional Barrier or some shit. That would make the most sense to me. So with the side deck, you've got Change Your Heart, Mind Control, Double King of the Swamp. What was that one I put in here? Oh, duh. Tearlament card, Tearlament Crime. The Omni Negate. You got your DD Crows, your Harpy Feather Duster, Call by the Grave. Your Fluffle package, basically the same as your Shadals. This card is in your graveyard and you control Toy Vendor, which you'll never control Toy Vendor because it's not in this deck. Banish this card from your graveyard and target one fluffle monster in your graveyard. Banish it, and if you do draw a card, it's not why this is in there. And send one toy vendor you control the graveyard, and if you do, draw one card. It's all one effect. No one really cares about it. This is why we do it. So, with this, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard. Set one toy vendor directly from the deck. Your spell trap zones. You contribute this card, then target one polymerization in your graveyard. Add it to your hand. That's why it's there. Because with this, what is toy vendor? Toy vendor. So you can discard one card, draw one card, and show it. And if it is a fluffle monster, you can special summon one monster. Otherwise, discard the card you drew. I know why this is in there. It's an Earth Fairy. Pretty straightforward with it. Send this card from your hand to the graveyard. Set one toy vendor directly from deck. Toy vendor. So I want to take out this stupid Regeki because no one's gonna use it anyway, and I want to plot in toy vendor. Now, more specifically, why I decided to do that is the Fluffle Bear does it anyway. Toy vendor is one of those cards where you can discard one card, so you can discard any of your Ishizus and draw one card, show it, and if it's a Fluffle monster, you can special summon it. Which, if you get the chance, great. If not, what's it matter? But basically, what Toy Vendor will allow you to do is discard. And if you've ever read these, is you can banish from the graveyard, target, card is sent, card is sent. They all have that stupid thing where it's like, if this card is sent from hand or deck to the graveyard, so like, actually I gotta do exchange. So you do it like this. This card is sent from the hand to the graveyard, hand or deck. Alright. Very simple. It just has to be in the graveyard. Either has to be sent. Build a graveyard. So, Toy Vendor is a great option for this deck. Because with effects that say if this card is sent to the graveyard, it doesn't care how it got there. All it cares is that it is in the graveyard. That's the only thing it cares about. It says if this card is sent, it only cares about where it is at and where it was sent from. It does not care that it was used for cost. It doesn't care that you used it as a random discard. It It doesn't care that you foolish burialed it. It doesn't care anything. All it cares about is if it came from a hand or deck. That's it. Specifically says on the card that that's all it cares about. And with that being said, this makes it a lot really dangerous with this Fluffle package in there. Very dangerous. Which is why they're good side cards, as you can see. And the toy vendor is very good because once per turn you can just discard and draw a card. And if it's a Fluffle, you can special summon it. And some of these Fluffles, if you special summon them, they're kind of big. But with that, this will conclude my Ishizu Tearlament deck profile. Going over it with you before this hits the shelf on the next. Let's see, this Friday. Yeah, this will be out this Friday. So make sure that if you don't know this deck, that you know it by the end of the week, because what it will do, you will not like, and you need to stop it. I've already got my plan. Once I get it done, I will show it off, but you need to prepare for this if you're not already prepared, because this deck will end you fast, and it does not care. But that's all the time I have for today. I'm Pierce Nation, and I will see you in the next video. Pierce Nation, out.